Hey YouTube, I'm RP. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you about how to maintain your printer so you can get really smooth prints, just like this one. Here we go. Okay, so maintaining a printer, it's really not that hard. And if you do it the right way and keep up on the maintenance, you'll have amazing quality prints. I have a Creality CR10S. This thing has been amazing. It's basic, but because it's so basic, I know everything about this printer, how it works inside and out. Once you have the understanding of the inner workings of the technology, getting this thing to work without a problem, it's super easy, straightforward. So first thing, heat bed. If you've never 3D printed before, this is your heat bed. I have a special glass heat bed. This is an ultra base bed. This bed is amazing. I get great adhesion on this bed, but you have to maintain the bed to keep it clean. So what do I use? Isopropyl alcohol. Take a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, put it on a paper towel, wipe the bed clean. You're done. That's it. It's that simple. So making sure that after every print, you keep the bed clean will give you great adhesion so that you can get really smooth prints. The way I hold these down, or the bed I should say, are with these little clips. And I just simply put the clips on the bed. And that's it. Now I'm ready to go. Just wipe that with a little bit of water to get any dust off of the bed. And now my bed's ready. The next thing is you want to make sure that everything is dust free. There are these little wheels that run along your x-axis, your gantry, and they move the hot end back and forth. You want to just make sure that you get any dust clear in those wheels. We've got some wheels underneath here under the bed too. I'll go under here and I'll find those wheels, and they're a little tricky to see, but you can find them, and you just gently rub them with a soft cloth, a microfiber cloth. You've got wheels on the side here too. You just want to make sure everything is dust free, so nothing's getting caught in these rails. So the next thing is you want to make sure your belts have good tension. I've got good tension on these belts. They're not super tight, but they're tight enough to keep good tension. They don't sag. If you get them too loose, these belts sit on a stepper motor, and that stepper motor has teeth. And if it gets too loose, it'll skip on those teeth. So you want to make sure that those have good tension. You can tighten those up, and everything that came with your printer, there's a toolkit. Everything that came with your printer, you can make these adjustments. You don't have to buy any other tools. So you simply just find the Allen wrench right here that fits the adjuster screws, and you simply just loosen these, and then you can pull this back and forth to tighten or loosen the tension, and then you tighten it back up. There's also, right on this side, right here, you have some Allen screws that you can also loosen, and you can put some pressure on this to then pull it out for tension or bring it back in to loosen it up. And then you just simply tighten down the Allen screws once you're good to go. You want to make sure that your hot end isn't wobbling. If you look at this, I can't move this. And the way that I keep this nice and firm, again, came with my printer, there is an eccentric nut, can't even say it, that's underneath this hot end. And if I go up in here on this back wheel, you can see that I'm on the eccentric nut right now. I can loosen or tighten that nut. And what that nut does is it moves the wheel closer or further away from the gantry bar. And if it's too far, you're going to get a lot of wobble on this print nozzle, on this hot end. You want to tighten it up just enough so that the wheel prevents any wobble on this. The other thing that's really important is you want to make sure that you have all of your screws tight, everything. It sounds simple, and you would think that they wouldn't come loose, but they can. So go around and tighten down everything. Make sure that it's nice and snug and that you've got no wobble in your frame and everything is sturdy. I'm going to turn this on real quick. And there's one thing that I have noticed on my printer that I pay attention to every single time. And that is making sure that my gantry is level. If this is not level, even if it's off just a little bit, you're going to have lines and uneven prints. They won't come out smooth. So what did I do? I know you can print things on Thingiverse. They're little, I don't even know what they're called. They simply sit into these rails. They're like measurement blocks. And you can lower your gantry down onto those blocks. I just use craft paint. That's it. These bottles are the same size. I come in here, and I'm actually going to bring over the camera. Sorry for the jostling, but I come over here. Hopefully you can see this okay. And I'm going to move my Z-axis back to home. And what this is going to do is it's going to lower this back to the home position so that I can adjust the X-axis and the Y-axis and I'm going to put these bottles of paint right here, so as the gantry comes down, I'm going to level that gantry right up to that bottle of paint on both sides. So we're going to let that lower, and I'll show you exactly how I do this. Okay, we've now got everything in the home position, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to move up my Z-axis about 30 millimeters. And that's going to lift that up high enough so that I can get these bottles of paint underneath that rod. And once that's done, then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to move the X-axis to about the middle of the bed. So now what you can see here is I have plenty of clearance, right? Plenty of clearance to put that bottle in there. I'm hoping I'm talking loud enough. I am just recording this with my phone, so sorry guys if the sound is bad. But putting this right up in there. Now you want to be careful that you don't get too far in, that it gets stuck on this metal piece, because as that gantry comes down, you don't want it to get stuck. So you want to bring that out just enough where it's going to touch. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back over here, I'm going to lower my Z-axis by 1 millimeter at a time. I'm just going to make sure it gets close enough. And you can see I've got just a little space there, and I've got even less space there. It's probably hard to tell. In fact, I've got a little more space over here than I do over here. And what ends up happening is after my print is finished, there's a lot of weight over here with the extruder and with the stepper motor. And it tends to droop just ever so slightly, not enough that you would notice, but to prevent this from happening on your next print, you want to make sure everything is level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the camera and I'm going to reposition it onto the tripod. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here and I'm going to take these Z-rod screws and I'm going to disable the stepper motors. come up to prepare, and you will see an option called disable steppers. Once I've clicked that, I can now freely spin these rods on both sides. There's one over on this side and there's one over on the opposite side. And I'm going to spin those down so that I level this. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay, I've got the stepper motor disabled, and I'm going to spin this with my hands, and you can see the gantry lowering. I can lift it or I can lower it, and I'm going to lower it. And I'm going to make sure that these are in the right position and just snug that up on both sides. And I'm just going to pull just slightly on these bottles, and they both have the same amount of tension. This is now perfectly level, perfectly level. And the way that I get this to now stay perfectly level is I'm going to come back and I'm going to move the axis, the Z axis, up about 10 millimeters. It'll lock back in the stepper motor and everything will be perfectly level. So let's do that. Z, 10 millimeters. Now you want to make sure you go up, not down. If you go down, you're going to cause some problems. So we're going to turn it in the direction to lift the gantry up. This is now perfectly level. Bottles of paint over here. So guys, the next thing we need to make sure of is that you have a level bed. This is sometimes tricky, but it's really not that difficult. If the bed is completely level, and what I mean is level to your gantry, you will have extremely smooth prints. Now, I do this every single time I print. You don't have to. You can let your bed go for a long time if you've got really good springs underneath your bed. These knobs right here, they provide tension. You can move them up and down. And we're going to go around all four corners of the bed. I'm going to level each corner of the bed. And the way I do that, Post-it note. That's it. I'm going to take this Post-it note. I'm going to put it underneath the hot end, right on the bed, and I'm going to make sure that that thickness of that Post-it note fits between the nozzle and the bed. And you want to hear a slight scratching sound, almost like a fingernail on a desk. I don't know if you can hear that. Something like that. You want there to be enough resistance, but not so much that the paper is getting bent between the nozzle and the bed. So it takes a little practice, but I'm heating up the bed right now, and it's important that you have the bed and your nozzle at temperature when you do this. That way, everything is heated up. You've got consistency in measuring with your paper, and we're simply going to put the nozzle in the exact corner where the tension knob is. So I'm going to go to corner 1 here in the front left, corner 2 in the front right, in the back right, and then over to the back left. And I'm going to do that and rinse and repeat and just do that 2, 3, 4 times until I've got that same resistance on every single corner of the bed. Then I'm going to bring it into the middle and test it right there as well. So I'll show you a couple of these and how this is going to work once this is all heated up. Okay, we're a little bit closer here. The bed and the nozzle are all to temperature. So I'm going to bring this to the auto home position. And then from that point, I'm going to position it 30 millimeters over and 30 millimeters back, and put it right above this tension knob. I also like to bring up my Z-axis. This is not necessary, but if my bed's unlevel and I start moving the hot end across the bed, it's going to scratch my my bed, and I don't want that. So I bring it up just a little bit. So let's move this over. We moved it back 30. And we're going to move the X-axis over 30. And then I'm going to drop down the Z-axis. I'm going to take my piece of paper, and I'm blind, so I'm going to put on my glasses. and I'm going to drop the Z-axis down 10 millimeters. And right now, that's really tight. It's moving back and forth, but I think it's a little bit probably too tight. So I'm going to move the knob just ever so slightly, making slight adjustments. I don't know if you can hear that because of the fan. But I'm not getting a ton of resistance. It's snug, but it's at a good, it's at a good height to allow the paper to move between the hot end and the bed. So once I'm good with that one, I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to move the X-axis over to 270. And then I'm going to drop my Z-axis down and I'm going to do the same thing. There we go. So now I come back to the first corner and I do the same thing all over again. Maybe 2 or 3 times. Maybe you have to do it 4. Ultimately, you're going to come into the middle and you're going to make sure you've got even distribution and tension in the middle as you do on all 4 corners. Once you do, you have a perfectly level bed. Every time your prints will come out amazing. I'm talking like this smooth. This is part of the chest piece, half of the chest piece to the Mark 85 Ironman suit, and this thing came out beautifully. I mean, it's amazing. Once your bed is level, you also want to make sure that you are extruding the appropriate ratio. And there are tutorials out there that are far better than what I could actually just sit and explain to you right now. But go out and look those up in terms of how to calibrate your extruder, because you want to ensure that you're extruding the exact amount of filament into the hot end so that you have smooth, consistent prints. The other thing that I have, really good filament. This mono price has been amazing. And it's cheap too. It's like 23 bucks. 23 bucks. It comes in a lot of different colors. I'm using the gray. I have found that the gray just works amazingly well. I've used white. White works great too, but I like the gray. I've had a lot of success with that. So good filament. So let's recap. Make sure everything's clean. Make sure there's dust that's cleaned off, that the wheels are free of debris. Make sure your gantry is level. Make sure your bed is clean. Make sure that your bed is level. Make sure that your extruder is calibrated and adjusted and it's working well. Make sure everything's tight. I'm hoping I'm not forgetting anything. Make sure you've got good filament. And now we're ready to print. So it's as simple as that. I'm going to show you a couple of the prints that I've done with this technique, and it's been consistent every single time. Okay, just a couple of pieces here. Here we have the back of the neck that's going to the Mark 85 suit. I mean, it's amazing. Just super smooth quality. Here I have the collar that goes to the chest piece. Again, it's just amazing, super smooth quality. I couldn't be happier. When you have prints that come out this good, they're ready to just lightly sand and prime. Here's the neck piece. Again, super smooth, just amazing. This chest piece, you can see how smooth this is. This is all from having the printer dialed in so that you can print smooth prints so that you have to spend a lot of time in post-production. This is coming out amazing. Here we have a forearm, and this forearm just came out beautiful. I mean, the detail on this it's amazing. I couldn't be happier. So getting super smooth prints is not, it's not that hard. It's just about maintaining the printer, keeping it dialed in. So appreciate you. Go ahead and subscribe, and appreciate your support. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.